is the final last straw. We're gonna do what we've always said we're gonna do. We're gonna win and kick your stinking teeth in.
What do a Soviet traitor, a leather-clad Smash, and a sneaky Repo Man have in common? They were all Barry Darsow. This guy had one of the wildest careers in wrestling, not because he was always in the spotlight, but because he could become anyone and make it work. Despite all this, Barry's potential was underutilized. He was robbed of opportunities, and his controversies made his career painfully fail. Let's break it down. Barry was born in 1959 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which just so happened to be one of the most ridiculously stacked hometowns in wrestling history. He went to high school at Robbinsdale with Kurt Hennig, Rick Rude, Tom Zink, Nikita Koloff, and John Nord. It was basically a future Royal Rumble lineup all in one graduating class. That kind of environment shapes people. It lit a fire under Darsow early, and it's no surprise he wound up in the business. Outside of school, Barry was already surrounded by wrestling energy. He worked as a bouncer at local bars with two other guys who would go on to form one of the greatest tag teams of all time, Hawk and Animal, the Road Warriors. So even before stepping in a ring, Barry was rubbing shoulders with some of the most intense personalities wrestling would ever see. He officially broke into the business around 1981, starting out in Hawaii as Zarmongo. It wasn't a huge role, but it got his foot in the door. He wrestled briefly in New Zealand, then made his way into the Georgia territory in 1983 as Man Mountain Darsow, and did decent. Barry Darsow's wild wrestling ride began in 1983 when he showed up in Mid-South Wrestling as Krusher Darsow. The twist? Even though he was born and raised in the States, he marched to the ring waving a Soviet flag. The Cold War was still hot, so the crowd let him have it with boos, jeers, and every insult you can imagine, and Barry loved every second. Soon he dropped Krusher for the tougher-sounding Krusher Khruschev and formed a full Russian unit with Nikolai Volkov, Ivan Koloff, and Nikita Koloff. The heat only got hotter. Barry leaned in, flag held high, calling American fans weak. Heat only matters if you can back it up. On May 2nd, 1984, Krusher pinned Terry Taylor to become the first Mid-South television champion. A few weeks later, he teamed with Jim, the Anvil, Neidhart, and snagged the Florida U.S. Tag Team titles. Suddenly, everyone realized this loudmouth traitor could really wrestle. Then in 1987, Darsow jumped to the WWF and rebranded as Smash, one half of Demolition. The gimmick had stumbled with someone else, but once Barry paired up with Bill Eadie, better known as Axe, the team took off. Demolition looked tough. They wore black leather, face paint, and wrestled with power. Some fans compared Demolition to another team called the Road Warriors. Darsow actually knew those guys before wrestling. But Demolition worked hard to become their own team with their own identity. Later on, when the real Road Warriors joined the WWF as the Legion of Doom, Darsow felt that the company started to push Demolition to the side. Even so, Demolition had an amazing run. At WrestleMania 4 in 1988, they beat Strikeforce and won the tag team titles. They held those titles for 478 days. That was a record at the time. They defended the titles against the best teams in the WWF, like the British Bulldogs, the Hart Foundation, and the Powers of Pain. At WrestleMania 5, they even beat Mr. Fuji, who had betrayed them and joined the other side. They won the titles one more time after that, but it didn't last very long. Their last title loss was to the Hart Foundation at SummerSlam in 1990. After that, Demolition came to an end, and Barry's flashy career almost disappeared. After the tag team Demolition ended, Barry Darsow needed a new role in the WWF. So he came up with something different, the Repo Man.
Every time I see you with the World Wrestling Federation Intercontinental belt around your waist, it makes me sick. Because that's my belt! I'm gonna win that title. I'm gonna be the champion.
It was actually based on real life. Before wrestling, Darsow used to repossess cars. He told Vince McMahon about the idea. Vince liked it and said it would be even better if he wore a mask. That's how the Repo Man was born. He wore a gray coat with tire tracks on it, a little black mask, and carried a tow rope. His job was to sneak around and take back stuff from other wrestlers. He'd say his catchphrase, "What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine too." The character was goofy, almost like a cartoon villain. But Darsow had bigger plans for the character. He thought the Repo Man could become a good guy someday. Fans were starting to enjoy the character anyway. Some were booing, sure, but others were laughing and cheering. Darsow thought he could turn Repo Man into more of a hero. But Vince didn't see it that way. He told Darsow, "I'm not turning you into a babyface." That was it. Darsow felt like they had talked about doing more with the character, and now Vince had changed his mind. So Darsow decided to leave. He quit in 1993. His last big match was a loss to Typhoon. Fans had different opinions about the Repo Man. Some thought it was hilarious. Others thought it was a big step down from when Darsow was the tough guy in Demolition. But one thing was clear. Darsow gave it everything he had. After leaving WWF, Barry Darsow joined WCW in 1994 and continued playing flashy characters. First, he became the Blacktop Bully, a tough trucker created by Ric Flair. He feuded with Dustin Rhodes, and their rivalry ended with a wild match on the back of a moving truck. Not long after, Darsow became Mr. Hole-in-One, a loud, bragging golfer. He brought a mini putting green to the ring, told the crowd to be quiet, and dared his opponents to sink a putt. If they missed, he attacked. It was silly, but Darsow leaned into it and made it fun. But none of these gimmicks did justice to his potential. He could have done so much better, but after that Demolition fallout, things only kept worsening. He also had some major controversies along the way, but no one could have thought they will cost him his Hall of Fame recognition. In 2014, a lawyer named Konstantin Kairos filed a class action lawsuit for them and more than 50 other former wrestlers. The roll call felt like a Hall of Fame reunion, with Road Warrior Animal, King Kong Bundy, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, and many more. Their claims sounded simple. Years of chair shots, body slams, and flying elbows had rattled their brains and left lasting damage. They said WWE knew the risks, hid the truth, and put profit first. The wrestlers talked about headaches that never quit, nights when simple words slipped away, and mood swings that scared family members. Doctors later gave those problems a name: chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. They also listed Alzheimer's disease and other kinds of dementia. They argued that repeated blows to the head during matches caused all of it. They took aim at an old business trick too. WWE called its talent independent contractors, not employees. That label meant no health insurance, no workers' comp, and no retirement plan. The wrestlers said it was a loophole that let the company avoid paying for injuries it helped cause. They asked the court to force WWE to accept responsibility and to cover medical bills piling up years after the final bell. WWE fired back. The company said everyone in the ring knew the risks and chose to wrestle anyway. It reminded the court that independent contractors pay their own medical costs. It also argued that most claims came too late. In many states, you have only a few years to sue after you get hurt. Some men had retired 20 or 30 years earlier, long before CTE even had a name. While lawyers traded filings, fans and reporters dug into wrestling's rough history. In the boom years of the 80s and 90s, wrestlers worked almost every night. They drove hundreds of miles between towns, slept in motels, popped pain pills on empty stomachs, and threw their bodies around again the next evening. There was no off-season and almost no time to heal. Skipping a show meant losing pay and maybe losing your spot on the card. The court battle took place in Connecticut, near WWE headquarters. In September 2018, Judge Vanessa Bryant ruled for WWE and threw the case out. She said some claims had no solid proof. Others missed the legal deadline for filing. She also said the wrestlers had not shown that WWE knew enough about CTE back when those matches happened. She later told lawyer Kairos to pay WWE's legal fees because he broke court rules during the fight. Demolition and the rest tried to appeal. In 2020, the United States Supreme Court refused to hear the case. That closed the door for good. Some fans say the WWE Hall of Fame has felt incomplete for years because it is missing Demolition. Axe and Smash owned tag team wrestling in the late 1980s. Their reign of 478 days with the belts was once the longest in company history. Crowds sang their theme song, kids wore their face paint, and toy stores could not keep their action figures on the shelf. Yet each year at Hall of Fame time, their names stayed off the list. Barry Darsow, who played Smash, often shrugged when asked about it. He cheered for others who went in, but he also wondered why he and Bill Eadie were still waiting outside the door. Most people point to the concussion lawsuit for the delay. In 2014, Darsow, Eadie, and dozens of other former wrestlers sued WWE, saying the company hid the risks of head injuries. The suit turned the two sides into rivals again. During that tense period, WWE let the New Day break Demolition's tag team record in 2016. Records are meant to fall, but many fans felt the timing was WWE's way of pushing Demolition a little further into the past. Darsow took the high road. He tweeted congrats to Kofi Kingston and his partners and left it at that. Time healed the wound. Early in 2025, news broke that both Axe and Smash had signed new WWE Legends contracts. These deals last several years and bring retired stars back into the company family for interviews, video games, and new merchandise. Their photos popped up again on the alumni page of WWE's website. Fans noticed right away and spread the screenshot across social media. It was clear the Cold War was ending. But if you're wondering what his life looked like off-screen, then this segment is for you. Back in 2006, Barry teamed up with his friend Tom Daher to start Added Value Printing in Minnesota. They began with a single pad printing machine that stamped logos on hard hats for a nearby construction crew. Word spread, orders piled up, and soon they were putting names on everything, from hospital supplies to golf balls. Barry treats every customer the way he once greeted fans. Big smile, firm handshake, always on time. The shop now offers screen-printed t-shirts, embroidered caps, and the full package. Instead of waiting for a promoter's check, he gets steady corporate purchase orders that clear without fuss. He also buys the occasional house, fixes it up, and flips it. Nothing flashy, just a smart way to keep money coming in, whether or not wrestling nostalgia is hot that month. As of today, Barry lives in Maple Grove, Minnesota, with his wife Teresa. Their child grew up thinking it was normal to see a rubber demolition mask hanging next to golf clubs in the garage. Barry golfs several times a week and keeps a single-digit handicap. He jokes that reading a 5-foot putt is easier than timing a flying elbow. He still grabs coffee with old road buddies Wayne Bloom and John Nord, texts Jim Brunzel, and talks on the phone with Arn Anderson whenever someone says, "Remember when?" He likes to say wrestling friendships are like tag belts, hard to win and even harder to lose. Early in 2025, WWE signed Barry and Bill Eadie to Legends contracts. New action figures are on store shelves, fresh t-shirts are online, and royalties show up every quarter. Better yet, it might open the door to that long-rumored Hall of Fame induction. On a podcast last summer, Barry's eyes lit up as he recalled Demolition's Slugfest with Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. The fire is still there. He just wakes up a little stiffer these days. If WWE calls for a cameo or a documentary, he already knows which jacket he'll wear. So what is Barry Darsow's real legacy? Versatility. He was the Soviet brute Krusher Khruschev, the wrecking ball Smash, the sneaky Repo Man, a truck stop bully in WCW, and even a trash-talking golfer named Mr. Hole-in-One. Some gimmicks hit, some missed, but he sold every one of them because rent was due and he knew it. That readiness to reinvent himself, plus solid ring basics, kept promoters calling for more than 30 years. Just as important, he avoided becoming a sad, "where are they now" story. By building a thriving print shop and investing in property, he showed there is a smart way to step out of the ring without losing your shirt. From a 478-day WWF tag team reign to late career indie appearances, from small Minnesota gyms to the bright lights of WrestleMania, Barry Darsow has always moved forward. He pounded heroes as Smash, stole tires as Repo Man, guided rookies backstage, then traded turnbuckles for boardrooms and fairways. His story proves the final bell does not have to be the end. Sometimes it is just intermission before an even better act. If you enjoyed this ride, hit like, subscribe for more deep dives, and drop the name of the next legend you would love to hear about. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your shoulders off the mat.